Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much to Kiosk for the invitation to moderate this discussion. The topic or the research question of today is how algorithms shape cultural diversity, and that has a lot of questions within it and a lot of things to unpack, not only related to digital media technologies, but also to culture itself, how it's conceived, and how we conceive of ourselves. A small opening statement before we get into the descriptions of these wonderful people that I'm surrounded by is this. Streaming platforms are often presented as spaces of abundance and personalized access. Yet abundance does not automatically produce diversity in practice. Recommendation systems shape the pathways through which music is encountered, repeated, and normalized. This discussion asks whether algorithmic systems broaden cultural access or whether they reorganize it through popularity loops, concentration, and platform-driven visibility. So this is a lot of just like mumbo jumbo in a sense, unless we contextualize it and we talk through things. So that's the goal of this discussion today. It's basically to take these heady concepts that are difficult to make tangible and feel them within discussion and in conversation. And the conversationalists who will bring their perspectives to this don't necessarily think of themselves as experts, but instead participants in the scene that we all find ourselves. Starting with Gucc Imane on my right. This is the description given. Gucc Imane is a multidisciplinary artist working primarily in photography and music. I know it's hard to hear words about yourself, and I hope that it's easier that I say them for you, because sometimes you have it's really hard to speak about your own accomplishments. So it is an honor to introduce you as well as the other participants. Having started film photography at the age of 14, she photographs numerous musical artists, both on stage and for their album covers and press photos. Music being her first love, Gucc Imane quickly got behind the turntables with the aim of delivering the best possible sounds across all styles. She quickly developed a passion for trap, from underground scenes to the most mainstream artists. In October 2025, she launched her music discovery show, Radio Zero BS, on the live stream platform Twitch. If you have anything else to contribute to this description.
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And Jonathan on my left directly. Jonathan Cant is an artist and researcher from Belgium. He makes music as Nilis Nihilist, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and Kratje. Together with Laura Conant, he runs the Brussels-based Montage label and party series. Throughout his work, there is a strong interest in the intersection of sound with identity, politics, and class. Jonathan strongly believes that the ways we interact with music form us, and that musical scenes thus offer special ways of constructing collective identities. By offering ways of being, music gives us agency by building our own little utopias for a night. In the past, Jonathan has done research on the possibilities for new electronic music from the Global South to invert the classical economic center-periphery dynamic. Lately, he has been researching how clubs occupy old spaces of labor, i.e. old industry, with the gentrifying dynamics that come with these cultural developments. Jonathan's recent work for Montage has been focused on accessibility in an effort for inclusivity through open discourse. Furthermore, through the organization of events and fundraisers, Montage has been trying to directly politicize electronic music, concretizing the link between alternative culture and alternative ideals. In this context, Montage was a part of the event Estafette for Palestine, calling out the ongoing genocide in Palestine and raising funds for the support of Palestinian refugees in Belgium. And lastly, on the most far to my left, is Leah Weberman. Weberman, all right. You could... I really love the way that you wrote this. You could use passion, opinion, and devotion to define Leah Weberman, one of Brussels' scene's most active and involved heads. A head that definitely always stays on, either through her work as a booking agent at the Whole Agency, creating with her volunteer team the fever dream that is the punk, rock, and electronic party series Cherry Bomb, making you dance at her Dub to Jungle events, or even working behind the scenes doing artist hospitality, care team, and even videos. These past 2 years, Leah has also shared her thoughts and fed her knowledge about our nightlife on her backstage chat unfiltered podcast on Gimmick Radio, where she discussed some underlying and very much taboo topics. A wandering soul that can't help but speak her mind and spread her love, which is the essence of what we're trying to do in this discussion today. And finally, I did not prepare a description for myself. I guess I will talk about the recent work that I do. I am an MA graduate and tentative PhD student researching digital media anthropology through a focus on identity construction and cultural negotiation, as well as the reimagination of power dynamics that happens through amateur remix culture, specifically on DIY platforms such as SoundCloud, which was the field site of my master's thesis and my proposed PhD research. I complement this research in academia with involvement in the arts, mainly through a residency on Kiosk Radio, where I have an insider-outsider hybrid podcast series, along with two colleagues, Miles Brown and Maverick Leduff, where we explore digital music and media critique through anthropological, philosophical, and technological methods. That's a bit about me and the guests that we have here today. It's worth applauding. So I said in the beginning that this discussion is about algorithms informing cultural diversity, and that's a bit difficult to really understand when we just say these words. And I would love to ask a little bit more about the experiences of my guests. And at first, I see a lot of questions in this guide, and a lot of them are also a bit difficult to grasp contextually. But perhaps the first question we can go down the line in discussing it is, in what ways do you use or interact with algorithms in your daily life? When do algorithms pop up, and what are some examples of moments that you have to interact with them? Anyone is free to start.
Okay, I'll go first. Do you guys hear me? Yes! Okay. To be honest with you, at the moment I'm really trying hard to fight the algorithm. Like, I'm trying to find like natural ways of like finding out new music and new content and stuff. But at the same time, algorithms are everywhere, so we're kind of like, how do you say, soumis?
Yeah, maybe drowning.
We're like, what? Yeah, we're subjected to the algorithms. So, but yeah, I'm trying to take what's good and like not take what's bad, you know. And I'm really trying to like combine maybe going to concerts, going to Pell-Mell and looking at like albums and stuff with like, when I'm tired, I'm like, okay, algorithm, you know. So
Can you explain what Pell-Mell is for our international listeners?
Yeah, so basically Pell-Mell is a store. It's a second-hand store of like media. So it's music, film, books and stuff, and even like board games and stuff. And sometimes I go there like when I'm bored or I want to discover new things that are not in my algorithm. I go there and I just look at all the CDs, the vinyls and stuff. And when I see something that seems interesting to me, I just take a photo of it, or I just go directly on Spotify and listen to it. And yeah, that's how I try to actively like create my own algorithm. So yeah, that was Pell-Mell.
But what prompts you to want to avoid the algorithm or create your own in real life? Like, why would you feel that urge to leave platforms and social media out of the picture?
I mean, I'm not trying to like avoid them like at 100%. It's just that I'm trying to limit it. And the reason is because I don't want to be like a product of like, do you know the film E?
Yes, of course, yes.
I don't want to become like those people, you know? Like, I don't want to I don't want to like just eat everything that like the big corporations give us, you know? And they're not really giving it to us, they're really like imposing it to us. So I'm just trying to just think for myself, you know? And you know, I'm also very, how do you say, exigeante, difficile.
Demanding.
What?
Demanding.
Yeah, like I'm very picky and demanding with everything that I consume and stuff. So sometimes the algorithm, like, it can be interesting, but sometimes I'm sorry, but it's boring. So yeah, that's why.
The algorithm has not managed to capture your essence.
Exactly.
Well, thank
and
God.
it will never.
Good. Do either of you feel like you have a particular interaction with the algorithm in your day-to-day?
I would say that as a booker first, I listen to a lot of music. I also go to a lot of gigs, and the thing is, everything is kind of algorithmic with its own, like, what an algorithm is about. Like, in some way, it's like a curation, but like it's also like it's a more systemic thing going on, if that makes sense. And in some ways, I'm like, there's the algorithm that's gonna show me some stuff on social media. There's the algorithm that's gonna show me some stuff on SoundCloud, on like whatever platform I'm using. But then there's the thing that like is called a human. That's also a type of algorithm that I'm gonna kind of trust in some way, and I'm gonna go to a collectives party and be like, okay, maybe I don't know what I'm gonna hear, but I'm gonna go and I'll see what's going on there. And it's the same with some concert venues. I think it's very important, even though you know what you like with music, to be a bit adventurous and be accustomed to not liking stuff also, which is why sometimes you've got to trust humans. And that's why I try to do also, to like go against the algorithm current. And some other stuff, obviously it's like you're gonna go to some record stores, you're gonna see what's up there, but sometimes it can also be dead people in there. And you also have the DJ sets. You can listen to so many of those and be curious about who made the track that you enjoyed, taking the time to like stop for a little, go check who made that, how did they make that. I think it's kind of an important part of how to know what you like is not to just follow the algorithm, but more to sometimes follow the humans, because that's right now what comes to my mind is that's the main issue. It's the robotic whatever thingy going on.
It's interesting what you said about there being value in discovering what you dislike, like actively seeking out many events and music in real life and being okay with really not liking it, which the algorithm is like entirely trying to avoid this happening. And there's value in this.
It's, to me, that's the thing that's right now the biggest issue with any of us. It's we got accustomed to some type of concert. Did it come with COVID? Did it not come with COVID? I don't fucking know. All I know is like we have our phones there. It's gonna show us what we like, and I think taking a bit of a risk, because again, like risking stuff while being a booker, it's like, well, it's money that you put on the line, and money makes you eat and makes other people eat, and it makes you be able to have a roof on your head and other stuff. But it's kind of, I think, our mission, also as collective people, to like make people hear stuff that we're like, maybe they're gonna enjoy it, maybe they're not gonna enjoy it. But if you have also a space where they can rest and make the time to process the info, then that's the best thing. And that's what we do also, like with Cherry Bomb in some way. That's, I think, what's important is like we have punk and rock, we have electronic music. It's only one act at a time, so that means some people will come for the concept, for the music, but then of course you're not gonna enjoy some stuff. Of course at some point maybe you're gonna be tired of a sound, you're gonna be like, oh my god, it's so repetitive. Okay, but then why do you think like this? And I think it's so nice because it opens discussion, and you need to be also, I'm going so deep with that, but like this also makes you able to meet other people that you wouldn't meet if you only follow one type of sound or one type of art anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting that you're finding a way to reinsert community through in-person exposure to music and art, even if it's not necessarily what everybody likes. It's people can even bond over that fracture or fragmented taste. And Jonathan, do you feel like you interact with the algorithm in a specific way in your day-to-day? Or perhaps not specific at all?
I feel for me it goes a bit in two directions. I think for music discovery, I never managed to really train any of the algorithms enough that they understood my taste. So
Keep them guessing.
yeah, I don't use Spotify, and I think this one has the best recommendation algorithm. So the platforms I do use is for music then YouTube and Qobuz. And YouTube put me in the incel white male box.
Please expand on this box.
I get recommended gun videos and Jordan Peterson, which I never asked for, but yeah, and I feel like I'm stuck there. So that's
Okay.
not a nice base to discover music. And then the other platforms I use, I feel like it never really hits the spot, or rarely. But then, so as a listener, I feel like I still have to have this very active engagement, which I think, to some extent, like when I was 15 and I just discovered dubstep on YouTube,
A
then it
pivotal
would
moment for all of us.
then it recommended me stuff which was new to me, and this sort of future shock through random discovery, which at the time must have been already to some extent algorithmic but less AI trained. This I miss to some extent, but then in another way I also think putting in the effort and dedicating a part of your day on discovering new music can also be kind of nice. So yeah, and then as someone who organizes parties and who is stuck with the sort of financial reality of risking a large part of your savings to have a fun night with friends, I feel like the interaction with algorithms is becoming ever more strange, especially for nightlife. I feel because there's no proper music press anymore, sadly, and the main context in which you discover artists is rarely still a music context. So I think for me a lot of it goes through Instagram, but this is not a platform for music. And then in that sense, I think a sort of visual algorithm has a certain influence over what should be a musical algorithm. And I think there's something fascinating happening there, where certain things boost artists' careers or ask of certain PR campaigns, which do have quite a big influence on how I manage concerts now, where I notice, or we notice, that sometimes you end up booking a lot of people with really beautiful Instagram profiles, who might make nice music, but not necessarily better music than the other people with ugly Instagram profiles.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So, in a sense, the algorithm taking over our way of music discovery has now bled into a different identity than just a musical identity. It's now a visual identity that you have to portray that perhaps makes some kind of difference. And I guess as bookers, this is something that you regularly come into contact with. Who's gonna be?
I think for me personally, I have a really strange relationship to it. I don't know. I think in general, just in organizing nightlife specifically, this interaction with the financial reality and wanting to attract a crowd, and never knowing for sure which name could work, and then being sort of dependent on social media for that, or at least for me. I don't know if other people have found a better way. I think this is, I find this quite estranging. So I think for me a big part of what drew me into nightlife is to have an out-of-body experience to a certain extent, to be lost in a mass, to not think of my physicality. While now I feel like a lot of it is then like, my curation becomes based on what I was actually trying to avoid in the first place. So this is a funny realization to some extent.
It's also funny to think about the algorithm as also a way to step outside of one's body and oneself. I mean, it's a complete loss of self, in a sense, but in a different way. And one is perhaps much more harmful than the other one.
The internet as a body without organs?
Yeah, and were you going to also address your experiences as a booker with the visual aspect of algorithmic discovery?
So that's the thing also with the visual things. Of course, we all know that, like, as an artist right now, like, the reality is, if, like, I'm stating facts, not what I think, as an artist, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be visible. At least you have to be visible. You have to be visible in your own way. The thing is, algorithms like very specific stuff. Sometimes it's gonna be exactly what everybody else does. Sometimes it's lots of reactions because you're doing the different thing. And I kind of feel that like right now I'm struggling, like, to be honest. Like, I'm still very young. I'm 27. I started being an agent like after a failed internship that really made me want to follow artists that love music, as I love music, art, community, if that word means anything right now. But yeah, it's like you want to push artists for their art, but the system doesn't want that. Like,
What does the system want?
the system wants you to fit in, but the reality again is, when you think, like, maybe all of you, when you think about like a really important moment of music that really hit you, something that really resonated with you when you were a child, something that made you want to do music, to go to a concert, it doesn't come from being like exactly
Being
what's
recommended
expected.
something.
It comes from having a point, and a point that resonates with you. You want to be heard, and right now when we see all these artists that also shape, when we talk about DJ set, their DJ sets based on like a reaction aspect, based on the fact they can take some videos out of it, then it can last a little bit because people want a rush of adrenaline. But on the long run, these people, they will find the rush of adrenaline in someone else. Like, it's in my mind, it's like so complicated right now to know what to do with that. And yeah, again, as an agent, I just started without really knowing what to expect, and right now I'm kind of lost because I'm working with people who are so talented, and I don't want to advise them to be like, hey, post the snippets of you doing the thing that's gonna have reactions, because actually I don't like this. Like, I do not like this as a person, as
Sensationalism.
yeah, that's so fucked up. Like, it's I feel the good way would be to see, as it was in the past, Instagram or any social media, it's like a personal blog. Obviously, it's not how it works. That's how I see even my Instagram. I'm like, that's my blog, because I come from blog culture. But now the people who just start, they know how to make it work. And to me, that's also a very important thing. There's different scenes. Is this big scene that goes for the reaction, for the algorithm situation, the same scene as the one that like really blooms in the dark, as the one that like keeps in like creating outside of these norms? I don't think you can really put them all together.
You think that the music differs in the scenes where people are more triggered by some sensational aspect of performance or music rather than those who are not discovering through algorithms?
I think they can collide. They collide sometimes. Sometimes you have a sound, it's not very appreciated by everyone. And then it becomes that. Because there's something that makes people feel heard, seen, whatever. It's the right time, the right moment. And then this music genre, this artist pops. And it can become the norm. But still, in my mind, the main difference is intention with what you do, and it will always be intention, because you can always counter these AI, internet, whatever thing by putting your own limits, and it's very hard, because again, we live in a society, people want to be seen, we all want to be understood, appreciated, and these numbers help, because you see the numbers, you're like, oh my god, I slay, that means I did something right. You have the boost. As someone who always posted a lot on social media, I had this for a while, like when we were younger, it's like you post a picture of yourself, people like it, you're like, oh my god, I'm so hot. And then if you base your art, which is like the thing that comes from your heart, from like your soul, that's like your what you want to say to the world, on these things, oh my god, you're so fucked, because it's gonna last for a while, but that's not happiness in my mind. And I think if you want, again, like face people who don't like what you do. Don't just like expect the good reaction. Be like accustomed to like the people not liking stuff, you know.
Yeah, I think you touch on something interesting there, which I think is quite typical for algorithms and algorithmic content, is this focus on the good and the positive, which I think is also somewhat relates to the death of music press, where the sort of growing irrelevance of saying something negative, sadly. Well, I think actually to have some polemic going can be very productive. Even if it's shit articles with shit opinions, I think it can still be productive to then be like, oh no, you're wrong, and in this sense, this sort of stillness of everything turns into an ad of online content slowly but surely. We're all supposed to be happy and react like ChatGPT on every sensation. I think this has already to some hurt music press in a way that I'm afraid it's not recovering from. So I think there's something interesting there about a critical or encountering something which you don't like, which is I mean, for me it has happened a lot through algorithms actually, but having to face it and not click away, I think is important.
Yeah, it seems like we are left only with two options, and that's either be positive or be silent. And whereas before you could have an array of opinions through music press or through talking with each other, and that creates a dialogue that is in constant exchange and where opinions are constantly varying. But in the algorithm, you can only be positive or you are invisible, and that's what you're left with. And that really flattens a lot of musical depth. But we've been talking a lot from this booker perspective, and I know that you come from this world of live streaming, and I would love for you to perhaps say a bit more about what Zero BS is and how you have engaged with any algorithmic technologies through this live stream that you do.
So basically, I'm new in the Twitch game. I just finished the first season in June.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks. And so basically what I'm trying to do with the Zero BS is really because as you said, like today we're really focused on how the artist looks, like more the looks and the aesthetics and less about the music. And I had a frustration for a long time about like when I talk to some people and I'm like, what do you think of this artist? And they're like, yeah, I like their artistic direction. And I'm like, okay, but what do you think about the music? Like, I mean, yeah, it's good. Like, I like the artistic direction and I like the styling and I like the marketing or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but what do you think about the music? Like, does it touch you? Like, does it make you, I don't know, feel some things? And that's why I created this, because I really wanted to, like, put the focus on just the music and, you know, like, because I think that's what we're missing, like, at the moment, I think. And the algorithms are really, like, pushing this aesthetics and stuff. Like, I love aesthetics, I love art, I love photography, I love fashion, but like when we talk about music, for me it should be the music first and the other things should come last. Because I mean, I love looking at, for example, music videos, you know, and sometimes the music videos are shit. Like, let's be honest, like sometimes some artists don't have like the how do you say they don't like they're not, comment tu dis, wesh, la sensibilité. Yeah, the sensibility, like about like visuals and stuff. But somehow their music slaps, so I'm gonna listen to it, you know, and like it touches me and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm trying to do, and I'm really happy because people are really like responsive to the show. They're like, oh my god, like I really needed this, and I'm really trying to put like music from every, like literally every background, like mainstream music, underground music, rap music, folkloric music, or whatever, and
then you're discussing it
exactly
with guests, with the artists themselves, or perhaps you're just making comments on your own.
At the beginning I was on my own, but then I started like having guests, and I love it with guests. I love it better with guests because I'm not really comfortable being alone on my own, like on Twitch. But yeah, and we discuss it, and the thing is that I'm trying to put music in the center, but at the same time, with this show, we're also touching so many other subjects that are not the music, like, for example, politics, culture, and so many, and even gossip, like, at the end of the day, like. So yeah, just follow me on Twitch.
But yeah, I mean, what I was saying before about algorithms flattening the depth that we're supposed to have with musical discoverability, I mean, there's just one thing, and that's either positive or nothing in visibility when it comes to the music that you're listening to. And when we have shows such as this, or when we're discovering music outside of Spotify or outside of these recommendation systems, we come to have all these other things associated with our musical discovery, including gossip and politics and economics and philosophy and all these things that you might miss otherwise. But has anyone ever benefited from an algorithmic technology? Has there ever been a moment where it's helped with an event you've organized? And did you ever have to adjust or change? And did you ever feel that you were forced to? And then did you reap those benefits?
I think for us only in the negative direction.
Please expand on all of the nightmarish scenarios that you've had to encounter.
We noticed that after with Montage we organized the Estafette series, our Instagram account really suffered.
Can you tell us a bit more about Estafette?
So Estafette is a series of fundraisers we organize with a really wide group of friends in a nice informal way most of the time. And the idea is to unite cultural organizations together as a sort of estafette to collect funds for different causes. At the start was very focused on the genocide in Gaza, which is still ongoing. But then we also did a couple events with a broader team, like against repression of activism, and the last one was a fundraiser for different organizations in Iran. Who are suffering between two fascist regimes fighting each other, or three even. And we have been wondering, which is super hard to prove, but we really noticed that the couple normal music events we did after were way harder to promote on Instagram, because I think we got flagged for political content. And so you
the
never
algorithm
know.
has actively worked against you and made you less visible.
I think I strongly believe so, actually. Which is worrying.
Yeah.
For us too, it's something that's kind of going on. So from past events I've made that were also before Cherry Bomb, we also did one fundraising at La Fabrique for Palestine. Again, people were not seeing the content. You could see people, like, even though they were reacting, it was not going to go as far as what it usually does. And the thing is also with this algorithm thing, and when you know you're doing something that's political or that's like opinionated in some way, I feel like relying on it is not gonna be the solution. And what matters also, it's like just know who you want to see there, and is it gonna be the people actually seeing that on social media, or is it gonna be the people seeing that in real life? And that's when you kind of start to be also more creative. When you are in that field, you have to find a way to find the people that this algorithm is not gonna find, to come to your event, either that's like something that's fundraising, or it's your party. I think that we stopped flyering a bit too much. Like before, people were flyering in the street, you were going to people, you were taking the time to do that. Of course, it's lots of time, but in my mind, it's less expensive and more efficient than putting some money on Meta for ads or on Google or whatever. And if that motivates some people to do it, I've actually had some very good responses from that, because if it's the thing that you believe in, which for me is cherry bomb, like I believe in because so many people work on it. I believe in because we have a political view or a sociological view through everything. I know what I'm talking about. No fucking algorithm is gonna do that for me. I know I can go to people, tell them about it in some ways that, like, if they were scrolling, they were never gonna hear and see what it's about. I cannot tell them, like, hey guys, we have like Georges-Louis Boucher Pignata in a corner. Like, nobody is gonna know that, because if I put that on the internet, we're fucked. Like, it's over for us. Like, there's nothing going on. Also, this is allegedly, like, we didn't do that. But like, you have to go to find the people, and also it creates a great connection, because at the end of the day, like, that's what I mean with, like, there's different scenes, there's different ways to do it. We are collectives. We are, like, in that scene. We're not the big events, put your hands up in the air type of thing. So we also put our hands up. That's why, yeah, okay. But it's like, we
not
can
because
go
you're told to, but because you actually want to. You tell people.
Exactly.
Could everyone please put their hands up in the air?
But yeah, and then you create a new thing that is, like, again, human connection, and the people remember you, or like you remember the people, and it's like you invite your friends, like new friends, to your thing, and that's so much more important. And again, with the posters, we have a lot in Brussels. That's super nice, and that's a great way for people to find something, because if you like this specific bar that has this specific point of view, then you're gonna check the bathroom, or like when you're going for a wee or a woo, you're just gonna look at the wall and be like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting, and you're already, like, kind of in a mood of, like, oh, this is probably the vibe. But also sometimes they're lying, because I see some, I'm not gonna name
In what
things.
way? What? How?
What do you mean? Oh.
Well, who's lying about what?
No, but like sometimes you have some more like bro-ish events in like some leftist bar that is quite queer-minded, and then that doesn't make fully sense. Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know, the aesthetic of it. That's also making it work.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
No, I something which fascinates me personally, which is, I think, part of the subject and part of what you touched on, is also how background, like in a very, very wide sense, your upbringing, who you are, how it influences your taste. I think there's this somewhat a little outdated concept of cultural capital for it. But I think the interaction of this with the algorithm, it really boggles the mind, because I think a part of the sort of research question you voiced is then if this sort of direct access to all culture you might imagine, or at least all culture that is actually on the internet, if this enables more discovery across these boundaries. And then what you were arguing, if I think, is that this sort of a realness of real encounters, like putting a face to it. If you flyer, you can have like a short talk, judge if it's your vibe, and then still show up to an event and be like, oh wow, I didn't know this music, this is weird, I haven't encountered this before. I think this is an interesting point to it as well. So it's a very open question. I really don't have an answer to it. Yeah, and I think it's really also something which structures what I do as a listener and an organizer and a DJ. Like, how can you bring things together in a way that people keep discovering stuff, and how do you? I mean, we do experimental, with big brackets around it, events. So I think a lot of it is just funny, but then still we have like a very much art school crowd, which, I mean, it's me. But then to some extent it also saddens me that it's really hard to move beyond this, and this sort of division into scenes and niches, I think, can be productive to form a community, but to some extent I would also like to keep on enabling encounters between them, there's this writer I kind of like, Roshan Chauhan from the UK, who keeps on arguing that tech house is the most working class genre, which I think is a super interesting point to make. Yeah, I mean, I won't rephrase his arguments
because of how accessible it is.
I think, yeah, and I think this is interesting, like where there is sort of this interaction between the algorithm, between the amount of education you had that formed your ears, and between music, which I think in the end you could argue that all music is wiggly air, and that the only thing you might, like on a very deep layer, argue is that some things are more harmonic than others, which are more pleasing to humans. But all the rest is just sociologically formed, and why certain things are more popular than others, it's completely formed by society and then now algorithms. So I think there's something really weird happening there, which I can't put my finger to.
I mean, there's so many sub-concepts in what you're saying. First of all, the fact that music has become a service to subscribe to rather than a one-off unit that is purchased, or a product that you purchase one at a time and that you listen to with care and then you move to the next product. Now that it's a service, I mean, I'm wondering how the value of music and cultural capital, as you mentioned, has changed. Like, how do we perceive the absorption and consumption of music? Has it come to a grander scale? And how do we relate to music differently as we come to be recommended it?
Can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
How has the value of music changed now that it comes to you recommended at an infinite scale rather than something that you purchase one at a time?
Yeah, so I definitely think that the value really dropped a little, because it's really like quick consumption and skip and to the next song and to the next artist. There's this thing about, like, you know, like there used to be, I mean, there's still albums, like physical albums, and then piracy came into the picture. So it allowed people with less money to listen to more music that they couldn't afford if they bought it legally. So there's this thing where it's more accessible, but at the same time, I don't know, I feel like, you know, even just as a human being, like the more choice you have, the less happier you are, the sadder you are, you know, like that's so weird. And so yeah, I think I don't really have a really like precise opinion on it. It's really, I see the good, I see the bad, I take the good and I leave the bad, and I go on with my day, you know. So yeah.
And you were also speaking about, and both of you actually, about there being a difference in how you can advertise by flyering, for example, which is completely operating outside of algorithms. But this really works in a DIY context, it seems. If you're running a small-scale party series, you're able to put up your flyers in this like queer bar that you know like-minded people will frequent. You run the risk of perhaps only attracting this certain art school crowd, but at the same time, you know that you're reaching audiences outside of an algorithm. Do you feel that algorithms then only serve larger artists or stars? Do you feel that algorithms, the purpose of algorithms is only meant to benefit those who are already famous?
I don't think so. A great example is, well, again, the algorithm knows you, and sometimes it's going to show you smaller artists because if you're an artist that wants to be known outside of your own country, you're going to use these advertised ads. So it's really like kind of like a advocate of the devil, because it also works in some ways. I discovered this band called the Orchestra for Now because they just did like a little ad and it ended up on my Instagram and they were like playing at Botanique, so I just went. And this band is amazing. They're great people. They're great musicians. I had such a nice time. Actually, it was one of my favorite concerts of the year. I really felt so connected to like what went on there and the way they were presenting like their pieces. And so it's also sometimes a good thing because it made us able to end up hearing and seeing stuff that sometimes similar people to us are gonna hear. And it's a nice thing too to be able to connect with other people through this thing. So I guess it's not all bad because it's also kind of a luxury to be able to take the time to do your research. And it's still, talking for myself, I'm like quite, I would say like even like physically, socially privileged, like even financially privileged. And so I have the time, I can take it to discover things on my own. I have the time to go to concerts. I have the savings to go to concerts. I have the savings to go dig and know I can maybe end up buying a record, which is not always the same for everyone. So I think the issue also with these convos that happen sometimes, it's kind of telling people, you know, like, yeah, but you need to buy this record and then enjoy it as much as you. Of course we want more. Like, we're only human, and like we're not going to change the world around us. And to a certain extent, these algorithms can really serve a good. Can really end up like, because you were talking about how you only have also art people sometimes at your party, and the thing is with this ads that you're gonna pay, sometimes someone who would never have been in your circle, because maybe this person lives in another city, maybe this person never leaves their house because they're quite shy or whatever, and then they see the ad and they're like, okay, I'm gonna come, and that helps bring new people. And so it's really kind of I feel like only relying on one thing isn't gonna help anyone. But yeah, it's like we need to take the time to open this conversation, because that's the most useful thing. It's kind of being aware of it and using these with conscience. But again, I'm in a very privileged spot to be able to have these thoughts by myself in my bed and take the time to have those. Lots of people do not have the time to do this.
Yeah, this is an interesting relationship between algorithms and class. Do you feel like it's a privileged position for anyone to be able to avoid the algorithm? And does that mean that algorithms are entirely unavoidable for people who find themselves in lower classes?
I think... can you say the end of your sentence again, please?
Are algorithms just unavoidable for people who might be in impoverished settings?
I think it's kind of, yes, unavoidable if you're on social media. If you're not on social media, then you're just going to end up being part of a group, a friend group, or like some community from certain city space, and then end up doing what you see is happening around you. The good thing, again, with algorithm and not being sometimes from a class where you have the time, or like had your parents tell you about different arts, different types of music, or like were not educated about it, is you're gonna see this event, you don't know about it, maybe it's like these big put your hands up in the air events, and you're gonna end up there. And you're gonna be like, oh, what's this? Like, I've never seen it. And it's gonna make you end up discovering a whole new world that you would have never discovered. And to me, even though I come from a certain space, I was mostly in the rock, like genre, into rock and like indie music, electronic. I was like hearing, I don't know, like David Guetta on like the radio, and then I ended up. That's very niche. I ended up winning a contest on like Uber Eats for like a party that was a hangar party a while ago, and that was actually my first.
Can you explain what hangar is?
So hangar is these big scale events that are like thousands and thousands of people, where they invite artists from, I would say, all genres, but like mostly mainstream genres, and like big headliners usually, so people who would sell out 10,000 tickets. That's how I would describe it. And they're very active in Belgium, but also in other countries. And so that was my first event. At the time, they were a bit different, but that was my first event, and that's actually how I got to hear electronic music and have the feel of being in a room with people, and this feeling of maybe all of you sitting here know, it's the thing of like, oh my god, I'm so free here. Nobody cares about what I'm doing. Nobody cares how I'm dancing. I can just go crazy. And like, first time hearing the electronic music and interacting with it in a room with other people is very special. Of course, I ended up understanding that this was not my place, but without this happening like in that way, I wouldn't have seen it. And for some people, it's just you're gonna go to the event because you've seen it on social media, and it opens a whole new world to you. And that's I wouldn't be myself now in the end without this first event. Wouldn't have the same friends.
Can I say something about the previous question about
Absolutely.
how, like, if algorithms benefit, like, if it benefits more like the
Famous people.
the already successful people?
Yes.
I think it depends on the platform. Like, for example, I'll take Spotify because it's the most known. Spotify, it's proven that they work like this. Like, they literally they push like already successful artists. Because on Spotify you can subscribe to artists that you like, so that when you open the app, they suggest you things from like music from these artists. And sometimes I open Spotify and I see like, I mean, you can listen to Taylor Swift, it's totally okay, but I don't. And sometimes I'm like, I open Spotify and I see like they're trying to force me to listen to the new album, and pisses me off, honestly. But like, for example, when I go to YouTube, like when I'm at home, I listen music like mostly on YouTube with an ad blocker. And like, if you want to like compare algorithms, the one from YouTube is the one that suits me the most, because it's really good at like understanding which songs you really like love, and not just a song you appreciate, like a song you love. They're really good at like suggesting you that. And there's also a section, like, I don't know, like if you guys see, but when you open YouTube on your computer, you have all these categories. You have music, comedy, or whatever, info, politics, and stuff. And when you scroll to the extreme right, you have a category called New to You. I don't know if you guys see the category. Voilà. Donc, so I was saying, and I think it's really good because this feature is not on Spotify, it's not on Tidal, it's not on Apple Music.
I mean, but isn't there kind of Discover Weekly on Spotify?
I mean, the Discover Weekly is also like algorithm. It's an algorithm.
Is New to You not algorithm based?
That's a really good question. It's actually the opposite, but
explain.
Still based on the algorithm, So like, there's certain things that the algorithm understood that I liked, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna suggest her like the complete opposite, and I like that.
Okay, so it's not trying to match your taste. In fact, it's just trying to challenge your taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's what I like about YouTube. It's my favorite platform.
Yeah, I respect YouTube. I mean, it's definitely one step better than Spotify.
Yeah, fuck Spotify. Fuck Spotify.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Yes. Yeah, so we've talked a bit about if algorithms are unavoidable. It seems like they're not totally. But do you, the next question is in a more personal sense, do you feel that you've been changed, or anything about yourself or the way that you perceive yourself has changed because of algorithms? In the same vein, is your perception of culture around you has that changed as well because of algorithms?
I think for me it makes me feel very small often, I feel like I end up comparing myself a lot with like these numbers and views and clicks and plays, and it makes me feel insecure. Where then if we host an event and then often it's nice, or if I play somewhere and it's nice, then at that moment you're freed from it. Don't know, like you just have genuine human connection around you. then sitting at home scrolling the internet, often it makes me feel very small. Like I'm a less good musician. I'm less good looking. Like you end up comparing yourself in a way that's just totally unproductive. But then I think at the same end, it's super productive for the companies that own these platforms. Because I think what the previous thing touched upon, I think what my sort of take on it would be is that they are interested in the production of stars. They're not necessarily interested in keeping them up unless they have clear financial interest in it. Like a lot of algorithmic content is focused on newness and like fresh faces, and it's very quick and hard to keep up, as we mentioned with the DJ videos before. So I think this to have a star, you have to convince your audience that they can't be it, that they are somehow robbed of the talent that this other person has. But to me, like talent, especially in a music context, is a strict sales pitch. Because I don't think, I mean, everyone can make noise, and I think all noise can be music. And I think that's a way more productive attitude to it. But I do feel like I can rationalize it, I can conceptualize it, and then I'm scrolling Instagram and feeling like a little baby. It's weird. It gets in your head. And I mean, as we touched upon before, I've also discovered lots of cool things and made even friends through like suggestions and starting to chat and whatever. And in the other direction, like we've had demos from artists whom have become super close friends that discovered us just through their Discover Weekly on SoundCloud or whatever. So I mean, there is good things to it, but there's on a personal level, it does weird things to me.
Do you two also feel like there has been some personal implications with how you've interacted with the algorithm and how it's changed the way you see yourself or you see the culture around you?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've always spent lots of time on the internet, and I'm gonna speak for many of the people that are currently in this industry, whether you're a DJ, whether you're a promoter, wherever you are, lots of us have been like bullied. So the real world wasn't a space where we could see ourselves existing. And then you have the internet where we could find some people that were like us or that like did stuff that we were inspired by, because it wasn't depending on like, well, at first appearance. You could be your unique self. And I think this uniqueness is something that's like, again, it's like very tricky because it's kind of pushing you to want to be unique, if that means anything. But to me now, after thinking about it long, it doesn't mean shit, because we're all so similar, and that's also the beauty of it. So I think with personal growth within your art, within what you do in music or any field, actually, it can really fuck you up. It kind of did fuck me up for a while, because I'm like... I feel like I say a lot of but yeah, I'm talking about myself. People see me a certain way because I look a certain way on social media. I share what I want to share. And then people act a certain way because they kind of think they know you and they know what you do. And that is really hard to like work with that, because everybody's just a person. And I know many artists who have the weirdest interactions with people all the time, because people feel like they know them because of this pseudo closeness, and people come to you and they go talk to you and they touch you and they like, and I think this whole thing kind of creates this fake friend thing sometimes that can make like actually life super bizarre, and not like people don't follow like the proper way of like trying to see, oh, this person open to like have an interaction, is this person open to work together, and all these things mostly come from like this this gallery of like how we can or not perceive some people. But also on the other end, as you said, it makes you sometimes meet very nice people that you wouldn't meet any other way, and creates the first contact. But again, messages is super tricky. Like you never know someone by messages. Even don't know someone for like years until you know them. Like I don't know myself either, so.
The algorithm certainly doesn't help with that. Yeah. Was there something that you wanted to add as well?
So actually, algorithms do affect the way I consume and also the way I present my work as a photographer or a DJ or whatever. And I'm really like, basically I'm really trying to go against that. But sometimes some people suggest me, yeah, you should post behind the scenes. Yeah, you should show your face, you should show your outfit and things like that. And sometimes I was like, yeah, maybe why not? So sometimes I do it, like when I'm in the mood of like being a soldier of capitalism, you know? But like sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, like if you like my art, cool, if you don't, cool, you know? So yeah, and it's actually very stressful because like I don't want to post like behind the scenes, like I don't care, like just look at the picture I took and that's it, you know. So yeah, it's actually very stressing, even though I'm trying to like go and get against it. So yeah, it just for me it's stressing, just yeah, stressful.
The next question that kind of leads into the stress that comes with algorithmic discovery is if you feel any genres, scenes, movements are particularly privileged or disadvantaged because of algorithms. We can think a bit about skip culture in this moment in the sense that perhaps the first 10 seconds of a song might matter intensely for whether someone will listen to the rest of the song or not. How does this change your experience with musical production, booking, event organization, the music that you DJ in your mixes? How does skip culture perhaps make you think differently about what kinds of music are privileged versus disadvantaged?
So, for example, like when I'm DJing or when I'm just seeing a DJ playing, there's this thing where some DJs, they just do transitions every 20 seconds, and it really pisses me off. Like, let me enjoy the song you're playing, like, and sometimes like I've already had people tell me like, okay, you can go to the next song please, and I'm like, who's the DJ? Are you the DJ? Am I the DJ? Like if you want to have your own rhythm, just become a DJ. Like, why are you talking to me? And also like I had some people telling me, yeah, you should do more. I think like there's a guy, like I'm not gonna name drop him, but there's a DJ. He's like 10 years younger than me, and one day he slid in my DMs. He replied to a story where I was DJing, and he said, I think you should really consider like, how do you say? Like doing more quick transitions because the rhythm is really not it. And I didn't even answer because who the fuck are you? And you're 10 years younger than me. And yeah, I mean, and he's a man. Always men telling me what to do.
Yes,
you know?
always men.
Always men telling me, you should do this, you should do this. Shut the fuck up. So yeah, that's my point. So yeah, what was the question initially?
Which genres are privileged versus disadvantaged because
right,
of
right,
skip culture?
Yeah, I think like when you go to parties, more like urban parties, but more mainstream urban parties. It's
what
really.
Do you mean by urban parties?
You know what I mean by urban. You know, like hip hop, R&B, Afrobeats and stuff. That's I think it's really like privileged in a sense because it's like quick attention, it's like TikTok songs, so like you know that people are gonna go there and sing along, so the promoter can do stories and brag about, look at my party, you know. So yeah, I think there's a preference. Voilà.
There's a preference more to songs that are
Yeah.
known or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
will have this like spectacle aspect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. What are your thoughts and opinions?
Yeah, I was reading up a little bit today, and I came across the term Spotify core, which is somewhat contested apparently as well. And it's this idea of this sort of mellow music with a straight hook, which you can work to. It's something which is just very pleasing to some extent. So it fits well in these playlists that play the whole day. And you can shop clothes to it, and then the arguments for it, or like the sort of music snobs were arguing that there's a lot of pop music now which is then Spotify core, which is just like generally likable, and then there were some other people who were just like, yeah, you're being snobs. But then I started relating this to my own music consumption in the past years. And I think that there is some other factor in this where, for me, like as I grow older, I don't know if it's with growing older or with current times, I feel like my general sense of feeling overwhelmed is getting worse. I think like 10 years ago, I could listen to this really crazy hyperactive music and enjoy it and listen to it the whole day, like bouncing around my room. Well, now a lot of the music I listen to is more focused on calmness. So I feel this is not like something the algorithm has forced me to, but then maybe more the general state of trying to live in society. I don't recommend doing that. So I think that there is something interesting for this Spotify core, but I'm not sure if I link it as much to an algorithm. I think maybe there is an argument to be made that this sort of hook culture in music really favors songs with voices. But then this sort of softness of how the Spotify core is described, I think it's really like completely put away by this sort of hyper-compressed, hella loud rap music that's really popular now as well, where I think it's super demanding to the ears in a way that it's like digitally clipped, super loud productions. So I think it really counters it, the whole argument of this soft Spotify core music. Yeah.
Do you have anything else to contribute to this?
I don't remember the question.
Again, if certain genres are privileged or disadvantaged because of skip culture and our shorter attention spans, the fact that those first 10 seconds really need to serve as some sort of hook, are there genres such as minimal or ambient that might suffer from this? This is not a leading question.
But because I agree with all that you guys said, but I'm also gonna say no genre is benefiting, because again, what's beautiful to me in a very naive way with music is the diversity of who connects to different genre, how you find the music, and also if we just look at like what music works in each and every part of the world and what is made in each and every part of the world, there's so much music that probably as like people who have been living in Belgium and like Europe mostly, like we have never heard. Or like we have never heard enough to enjoy. And so, yes, that sucks because I've never heard it. But also, we don't need everything, and having some stuff that stay low-key and don't end up in the mainstream paysage is also very, very good. Because things are not visible don't mean they have a depth or like an importance, and that's what capitalistic society tells us. That's what the quest of success tells us. It's like to do something well, you have to be known, you have to be appreciated by everyone, but that's absolutely not it. And so there's always gonna be some stuff that are gonna work less. But if you even look at like painters, some people who had a really good point only were famous after they were dead. And again, who gives a fuck? Like, the point is to be happy with what you do And I can tell you, and if you listen to some interviews of like very famous people who make lots of money and have their music everywhere, they're not more happy. And of course, that depends on what you're looking for. I know people look for family most of the time. They want partners. They want stability within their jobs. They want a house. Like that's what we are taught that we want. But again, music is such like a portal also for ways to see things, for ways to feel things, and not having it being seen by everyone is fucking amazing.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's a very interesting point, this idea that being discoverable is being valuable and only being valued through the amount of discoverability that you have. Do you feel like with musical niches, let's say like small musical cultures, especially those that hail from the global south, is there any way that by being discovered they are exploited? And is there actually value in not discovering?
Again, the feeling of hearing something you've never heard can potentially put people in a place they never knew they could end up in. And some cultures, some cultures have vibrations in their sound that can do stuff. Maybe if we say like just music with the, I don't know what's the term again, but like with the notes we use in Europe mostly for the music, or like the beats we use mostly, maybe that's not gonna end up being a thing. So that's very nice that this is happening. On the other hand, cultural appropriation, that's something that because most music that we listen to, that we consume, that people play, don't come from their own kind. They come from people who actually were saying something that was not said. They were fighting, they're still fighting, and I do not know where you draw the line. I think giving back is important. How to financially, booking the right people is also amazing. But I think to some extent, if you are the person providing a service or a party or whatever with this musical genres that like are not your own, you need to find a system to give back that doesn't make you all gain from it, even socially or financially, and that takes time, and you need to sit with your own thoughts, and I think it's some processes that I'm saying that, and most people don't do it. I don't even do it all the time. Again, like I'm saying lots of shit. I'm not perfect, like, but it's sitting with like being uncomfortable with some stuff that you did, and lots of people keep booking people and gain money from it without really giving back. They pay people shit, and that's not okay.
This makes me think a lot about all of the different political and cultural implications with algorithms. And actually, when we're talking about platformization of music and music becoming a subscription service, there's an incredible author. I think his name is, I have it written down. Listening. Dylan Robinson, who's an indigenous author who wrote Hungry Listening, Resonant Theory for Indigenous Sound Studies. And basically, the central claim of this book is what I have written here, is that settler colonialism operates not only through land dispossession and political institutions, but also through habits of perception. Listening itself has been shaped by colonial assumptions of ownership, transparency, and access. Decolonizing music, therefore, requires more than diversifying repertoires or including indigenous performers. It requires fundamentally rethinking the ethics, politics, and ontology of listening. So in essence, people with settler mindsets provide the framework for music streaming, who expect infinite musical resources that exoticize musical cultures. Streaming platforms present music that is highly removed from its cultural background, providing no context or care, which contributes to this present issue of hungry listening. So I wanted to ask you guys' experiences with, let's think about all these playlists, for example, that Spotify has. I don't know about YouTube as much, but you've got your Afrobeats playlist, and this represents all Afrobeats. In one summation, you have an entire culture that's represented in a playlist. You have your Latin club playlist, and there you go. That's Latin America in another playlist. How do recommendation systems, algorithms, and these suggested playlists create culture for us? And that's a really broad question that's really difficult to answer, but perhaps what agency do we have in giving back to culture, conceiving culture, or participating in the creation of culture by stepping outside of these algorithmic suggestions? That's a loaded question, so...
If you want to talk about playlists, I don't really like the playlist that the platform suggests, because it's always like profit oriented. So I'm not really into that. And also, as I said, I'm a little picky. So like, I know that there's a lot of things I won't like. But yeah, what was the question again? Attention span fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, that happens with this algorithmic world. But in essence, how can we step outside of those suggested playlists in order to help produce the culture that algorithms try to produce for us?
Yeah. So I think a good way of going against that, it's listening to like web radios such as Kiosk Radio, NTS, Rins, etc. Especially NTS, they have like whole shows dedicated to maybe one genre or one artist, and it can be anything. It can be pop, it can be the most underground thing, it can be the thing like things all over the world. And this is, for me, is really like gems that we have to like how do you say,
protect at all costs?
Exactly. So yeah, I think we can like avoid like like algorithmic playlists and just go back to the old radio, you know, like. But at the same time, like, the thing with web radios is that now we have the freedom to, like, if you want to do a radio, just do it. And so you can put the music you want. But like when you have classical radios, like really FM radios, FM frequency, then yeah, it's just like Spotify at the end of the day, because it's profit orientated, you know.
Do you feel like your show on Twitch is in some way helping to combat the issues that I was just mentioning?
Yeah, I think so.
In what ways?
Because I'm trying to put everything from, as I said, every genre, every artist, every level of success. And I also love putting music that I discovered like in like unusual ways. Like, for example, I don't know, maybe like one day I was just drinking a bubble tea in my car, and there was this guy that was parked next to me, and he was rolling his joint and he was listening to music very loud, and he was singing along, and it was a song by Drake called and I actually Shazammed it. Like, I'm not afraid to Shazam. I'll be Shazamming in the club, everywhere, I don't care. So I was too shy to ask him, but because it was 2 years ago actually. So I was shy, so I just Shazammed it, and it's a song by Drake called Blem that I listen to a lot, like I really listen to it a lot, like regularly. And the thing is that when I listen to it, I think about that guy who was having the time of his life, rolling his joint and just screaming the song. So yeah, I think I'm really trying to put like unconventional like discoveries in my show, and I also love to talk about it, like when I develop on some songs and stuff. So yeah.
You like to share the stories of how you discovered certain music?
Yeah, I love it.
Nice.
Because as you said earlier, human connection is so important. Because when, I don't know, I'm hanging out with friends and they're like, oh, you should listen to this song. And if the song slaps and I love it, like, I'm going to think about the person who suggested me my whole life. So yeah, human connection.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about this whole subject of reproduction, support, exposure, and appropriation, especially within this sort of center periphery context, quite a lot lately. I mean, I'm very much fascinated by new electronic music cultures that happen all around the world, and I'm quite convinced that all new music does not come from the West. I feel like we have given up or stopped making interesting new things. But then there's this sort of personal question of me being me, like a big ass privileged white dude. How do I fit in making a support structure that's genuinely honest for all participants? Because funding is still, even though the center periphery dynamic has flipped culturally, funding is still very much controlled on multiple levels from a very centralized Western atmosphere, and also through a very centralized Western register of language. So I had a kiosk show earlier this week, and I played some like really nice crunchy South American music, and then I had this like experience of like what the fuck am I doing? Because to some extent I think I genuinely enjoy this music. I was not making a million off of it, but like 10 years ago, if I would see like a white dude playing to put it in horrible terms, world music, I would have this sort of apprehension of like, this is strange. But then I mean it's not world music. I'm making quotation marks for the people who are listening. That I play, but I do play a lot of music from people who come from a markedly different background, economically and geographically, than I do. And then I wonder, to what extent am I actually adding something to the discussion in doing this? And I think this is an open question which continues on your open question. Which it really, there is no correct answer to it. I think you can play music from all around the world in a supportive way and contextualize it, and I think there's a lot of really nice radio shows that put in a lot of effort into this. But then it can also be quite quickly problematic and very extractivist. I think that's a bit what you were aiming at with the aim of playlists, where it becomes also this highly curated thing aimed on a certain apprehension of taste and context of music. Because I think the music as a consumerist product, with whatever value that might have diminished now, and not as a sort of product of togetherness or a product of being in a certain space at a certain moment. This consumerist approach, I think, it's quite a Western or westernized capitalist approach to music, where if you then decontextualize music, which is just meant to be played live or to be enjoyed together, where the lines are way more blurred between the star and, to get back at what I was saying earlier, the star and the listener, I think then there is something super strange that happens by putting it into this curated playlist for your enjoyment. So, yeah.
It's not exactly the question, but I want to get back on something that I think relates to this, I call it neo-colonial behavior that that is to kind of sometimes end up in spaces or using a culture to your own end and not giving back. I think, as you said, the radios, the local radios, smaller radios, are a very good vector to be able to share the music in some way and have different types of people being able to share the music. But there's this stuff that's also as an agent keeps going on in my head. It's who is on top of it, and who are you giving your money to? Because I was checking right now on my phone. To me, if you tell me you're community radio, you mean you want to stay a community. You don't mean you want to be bought by a big group and you want to be part of something that's gonna even make more money in the machine that is capitalism. The thing is, I just checked, and NTS, for example, is owned by Universal. Universal, who makes lots of music. I listen also to music from Universal Group, and that's also what I'm asking myself. It's like, so it's Universal. Universal is part of the Comcast group. This group invested in Israel, so it's funding a genocide. How do you separate the fact that you're discovering sounds that sometimes are quite against this, that might be very rooted in like a revolution and stuff like this, and it's artists that actually need this visibility to be able to like make a point in our world, but then who does it profit to? And that's the same when you buy a truck, and that's the same when I sometimes work with clubs. It's like, to what extent do I put my head in the, like, in French we say faire l'autruche. I don't know if there's an equivalent. It's like, to what extent do I kind of like pretend I don't know something because there's a better end for something I believe in? But then why would my, like, the things I believe in like matter more than like the reality that is, it is funding a genocide, you know? And I do not know, like when I work sometimes with some clubs, I know they're saying bullshit. And most of the time I stop working with them because I'm like, this is not what I'm fighting for. This is not what club music is about. This is not why techno was created for. This is fucked up. I don't want to contribute to that. But it still goes on. So sometimes is it better to have some visibility for communities that need it, even for queer people also, like they're now very much more present than before on the electronic scene. But what do we do about this? Like this whole machine, if we like, if I was going exactly with like what I believe in, I would not use Apple Music. I wouldn't buy music from like groups who are like investing in well, I don't know, the US and whatever, but we still do it. So if someone has like an idea, like, I think that's the whole issue. We always try to make ourselves feel better. And that's the main problem. We need to feel bad sometimes. We also need to feel good, but like, what do we do?
It seems that the role of human curation is perhaps the only way we could combat this problem. I mean, if you are just focused on peer-to-peer sharing, this is the only way perhaps that we could step outside of the power structures involved in algorithmic technologies. I wanted to ask, across all boards, because this is related to this statement or this opinion that you have so rightfully shared, how do algorithms reinforce power imbalances and power structures?
I think with the development or the deployment of algorithmic discovery in the last 20-ish years, there was this, every time there's a new technological advancement, for a little while it's kind of interesting for the underground and people profit from it. And then those who are in power are always late to the party, and I think then of the big five, like Universal Group, and they sort of scramble to get a hold of it, like, oh, we can curate playlists on here. Let's force people to listen to more Taylor Swift, as if Intermarché isn't doing enough. So I think there is some, often this sort of window of opportunity opens, and I think this is a lot throughout living in capitalism, where something new happens and you think like, wow, this is a chance, and then you feel like power structures struggle to be like, whoa, no, we're not giving you that, you ain't enjoying that, let's buy up NTS, let's change this. So I think then that, to a certain extent, it really influences power dynamics. And I think that also ties back to my sort of opening statement of me being in the incel algorithm on YouTube, where I really feel like I use this platform for music, but I I get so much right-wing content spliced in between, like worryingly right-wing content, and also quite clearly aimed at kids.
What do you mean aimed at kids?
Yeah, it's like adolescent stuff about boys being better than girls, but in a way that it's not like playful, childish, but in a way that it's like hyper problematic, misogynistic, Jordan Peterson bullshit. And I think that YouTube is special on this, but no exception, because Spotify has, of course, their really historic giga investment to get Joe Rogan on the platform, and then not, and then again, or something. So it does definitely reinforce certain power structures. But then again, every time you think that this is worrying or something, there is still there is a lot of organization, and there is still a lot of people putting in efforts of making things different. So I try not to get too caught up on this, because even within this sort of very bleak AI-generated outlook of society, there is still people always finding the fringes and creating hope within it.
No worries. Yeah, there's so many instances actually of power structures being reinforced within algorithmic technologies. Do you have something to add about that?
Yeah, that's something I kind of addressed. So I have a podcast. Yes, White Girl with a Podcast. I actually just ended
Talk
it.
your shit.
So in the latest episode, I was actually talking about this thing that Jamie Silk, which is a guy that does lots of, I would say, sociological around music vulgarization. And
What is this term?
he's named Jamie Silk, and he does posts on social media about like lots of different aspects, usually very grounded in politics, as music is political. And he has said this thing, I think, on his social, but also at a conference at Paris Electronic Week last year, which is he's certain that like you don't change things from the inside, and we are all from this convo, but also from living in the world, unhappy with how this is going. It's not making anything better. It's currently fucking like it's unstoppable. It's not. I'm a bit of a pessimist, but it's not gonna get better if we keep working in that system, because the system isn't made for minorities at first. So what we have been doing is we keep trying to implement these things that we believe are important, or like ideas that we think are important, in this already existing thing that actually wants to profit out of it, that it doesn't want for things to just be good and beautiful. So in some way I'm still wondering how to, but I think if this convo doesn't prove that, we really need to find ways to create new stuff that are outside, and then we create our own rules, because if not, it's gonna keep sucking. And for me, music is kind of an easy way to see like how, like, or even to explain to people how society is going, like the musical world. It's kind of like, it reflects everything. It's like this thing that touches everybody. If you put a situation that's in the musical world into the real, like everybody else's world, it's working. And then I feel like right now everything is shit. I'm pessimistic. Everything is shit, and like we really need to do something. Like we're all waiting. This algorithm thing is, in the end, if it keeps going, it's not gonna be good. Even though I said earlier it has some good aspects, it's not gonna be good. It's not human, and something that is not human is not gonna make humans feel better in the end.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you say, but I think it's really important to keep hope. And for me, like personally, I think that at a certain point we're gonna be tired of like robots and AI and stuff, and people are gonna come back to like humans and more organic stuff. So I totally agree with you, but I hope and I think like it's gonna like retract a little. Like now they're valuing like what is profitable is our attention and like AI and stuff, and the next profitable thing is human connections for me. So I think it's gonna be that way, honestly.
You think that human connections will become, in a sense, exoticized or commodified, so that we're looking for this in a way to escape what algorithms have created?
Yeah. Maybe. Like maybe in 5-10 years, I don't know. Or maybe never. We never know.
To chime into that, a lot of dating apps are super algorithmic, and it's really, really heavily robotically selected on whom you can meet and whom you will meet to have maximum retention on the platform. So I think to some extent even the love life has been commodified, coming from someone who met their partner on a dating app as well. So
the old-fashioned way. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, this contrast you're mentioning between the human and the non-human, because at the end of the day, algorithms are actually entirely made up of human input. And perhaps input that is unfairly imbalanced between input that is chosen by people with a lot of power. But I wrote down some thoughts about this, which are as follows. Algorithms are amalgamations of exteriorities. They summarize and learn from what is externally available of social and emotional life. But these components of life are heavily based on an interiority, or what moves within a person, that does not always match how that person comes to be moved on the outside. This dissonance between internal and external worlds can be understood through Bohlsdorf, who is a scholar of digital anthropology, and his idea of dubbing culture, which he applies to the dissonance between virtual and actual spaces. Dubbing culture refers to the overlap of one cultural paradigm on top of another without the two fitting perfectly together. And the algorithm is a way of creating a new cultural meaning and developing society in directions brought on only through the interaction of elements that don't fit on top of each other. This difference between real and realness, and this tension between internal and external, is where we find the substance of our work here. To catch algorithms as automated processes of absorption and production in the act of shaping and directing this tension and its formation of culture and personhood. It's super fun to think about algorithms philosophically. Algorithms are intangible, ever-changing, and elusive. They change shape with every interaction and never revert to a previous form. They are constantly reacting, with no foundation but response to an essence. They're incredibly powerful, but they are empty. This doesn't mean that they're meaningless, it just means that they're hollow. They're everybody and nobody at the same time. They're nothing without humans, yet they eradicate a large role of the human condition, which is interpersonal sharing, learning, and growing. It automates this practice, eradicating the error of miscommunication or misinterpretation that often happens between cultures, or so it thinks. It replaces human mistakes with automated ones that seep into power structures at a speed and volume unmatched by the human. Going along with this also is another scholar, Dr. Campos Valverde from Leeds University, who speaks a lot about the power structures that algorithms tend to create. And she has a really interesting point about Spotify. And all of their wellness playlists and their moods-based playlists that are supposed to help you with your health in some way. And she writes that wellness playlists on streaming platforms is actually linked to neoliberal and far-right mentalities. Firstly, because it's wellness that's meant to combat burnout from jobs. And secondly, because certain strands of wellness, audio, podcasts, and playlists are actually softly launching ideas of eugenics and the supremacy of white bodies and white health. So there's this wellness to alt-right pipeline that she's researching within Spotify playlists. I just find that to be an interesting point that we don't think so often about, how algorithms were initially meant to help us in some way, to help with our choosing and to help automate processes of life in order for us to give us more time for working or something like that. But in the end, it's just taken away a large part of critical thinking. And on this note, we're kind of wrapping up to the end. There is space for questions from the audience, if anybody has any. Yes, you could perhaps come here. Yes.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for this First of all, thank you for this conversation. We touched so many objects that are difficult to answer in one sitting, I suppose. And what I've found remarkable is that it was this conversation was a bit more pessimistic to my view. No, it's a very neutral thing. I mean this very neutrally, but the conversation had a tendency to be quite pessimistic, to some exceptions, of course, thanks to your questions. And I was just wondering, like, we talked about a lot about algorithms and stuff like that, and for me personally, algorithms are inherently colonial. Like, if you just think about who created algorithms in this digital world, most of the time these are men. Most of the times these are men that have a tendency to go towards the right-winged mentality. And when I think about, like, dismantling certain colonial structures, I feel like you need to understand internally how these colonial structures work. Examples for this are Rosa Parks. I'm saying Rosa Parks because there's a bus stop that's called Rosa Parks in Brussels, and so she devoted, or not necessarily devoted, but through experience, got to know this colonial system, and instead of going directly against it, she understood on what these structures are built, which are people that are part from a minority group, most of the time, if not always. And so I was wondering if you guys ever thought about how you could dismantle certain algorithms, specifically Spotify, or like, because Facebook and Meta and Instagram and Spotify and stuff are connected with each other. And I was wondering, like, even like the terms and conditions, I feel like this is a cultural thing globally, where we don't take the time to read these terms and conditions because they're small letters, it's a lot of efforts, but then to be anti-colonial does ask an insane amount of energy, if not a lifetime of work, as we know, because all of our activists either died or are devoting their lives to this. And so I was wondering if you guys did some efforts into looking into some terms and conditions and like realizing noticing in which parts you you benefit of as a artist, because I've also noticed that the panel talk, especially because we're talking so much about colonial structures, I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily directly associate with this due to lack of experience. And we talked about privileges a lot, and I feel like even saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna put this aside because I don't always want to be confronted with this," is a privilege to be able to do as well. And I was just wondering, how far do you guys go in like dismantling this, or like getting to know the algorithm to be able to go around it? I know it's a very specific question, and maybe you don't have an answer to this, but I feel like we talked so much about it, and this was something that I was wondering if you guys had noticed, like, oh, maybe because I have this type of public, I have the tendency to have more right-wing content, because having right-wing content doesn't mean you looked up anything right-wing related, but even like aesthetics, like we talked about, Instagram notices what your entourage is. So if you always post white people, even that is something sensitive in an algorithm that's going to cause you to see things that are not necessarily politically aligning with your views or something. And that was basically my question, is just like, how far do you go into this research? How far, like, how, especially in organizing events and stuff, how do you prevent certain people entering that don't share the same view, but still like allowing freedom of speech, quote unquote? Which is super complicated. I feel like the last few years we've been doing this so much, or trying to figure out how we can do this. And also I was wondering if you found something, if you noticed if this worked or not. Like if you were able to, like, even like flyers saying like this and this is not accepted socially. Do you notice positivity or feedback from your public? Voilà.
So many beautiful thoughts. Thank you. So to put that into some questions for the food for thought, how can you dismantle algorithms? I want to do justice to what you said. How can we dismantle algorithms, especially as they come to us through terms and conditions, and what can be read between the lines or skipped over? How, as you as organizers, bookers, music producers, and cultural participants, have a say in deconstructing colonial power imbalances that appear in algorithms? What agency do we have in this, and how definitely does this appear through terms and conditions? Did I cover everything? Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So from my perspective as a label owner, we have taken the choice to actually sort of ignore algorithms altogether because of the political impossibility of doing it correctly. And I say this from the perspective of a label owner because I find that it's a very different perspective as the perspective of an artist, because an artist wants to reach as many people as possible, while a label owner is producing, to say it with a really horrible word, content. So we have taken the choice to only put our stuff up until now. It might change, but up until now on SoundCloud and Bandcamp because it's free, and people can access it. Also, both platforms have really shit algorithms, but it's not necessarily that dictates it. But I wouldn't say that necessarily it's completely informed by any strong post-colonial deconstructing thinking on our side, but it is informed by a sort of political observation that this is not a type of space we want to feed because it reproduces power values which we do not align with. That said, we have at every time encouraged artists to put their music on it themselves and go for the visibility they want, which is for each to decide within their own context. And I think that also something related to that, which I was reading up on a little bit today before coming here, is then also we've been talking a lot about these platforms which are super Western culture, often Anglophone centered, while in the global South there is a lot of different platforms which have different algorithms, feature different music, which we can't even always access. Like I don't remember the name, but China's biggest streaming service has 800 million users, which is not a small number at all. Across the African continent, there's multiple as well, which we can't access as easily from here, which are also just technologically different because they're focused on mobile data, so the file sizes are smaller. And I think that's some interesting observations relating to this, of how much even within this discussion, deconstructing it, it is completely aligned with our frame of reference, which is of course dictated to a large extent by Western society and white-centered culture. To say that I have done the work in plowing through terms and conditions, I wouldn't. I think then maybe you could even argue that not putting it on there and just ignoring it is a lazy stance regarding that. But yeah, I think you made through your question, think that you made a really interesting point, which to add to the discussion. Yeah.
Also gonna start with saying I absolutely do not do enough work. Will probably never do enough. And as you said, I think it's a non-stop thing of learning and like getting into it. Actually, I've never read the terms either, and like that's a very good point. And I think that's I will learn a lot from that. I think, as I said before, also working against like this social norms and like these colonial norms that are currently going on. Keep being interested and curious about what's going on, and not only what you see. And saying this as someone who, because I like, and some people will relate to that, I do so many stuff at the same time. sometimes I stop doing the work. And I saw that last edition of Cherry Bomb with it. I didn't book anyone that was black, and that fucking sucks. Because I have all the tools. I listen to lots of music. Of course, I tried to book them. They were not available. I had these music genres in my head. Still, as a booker, if you put a party out, you should be able to do the work. And that's also like stuff that are personal. And that's the thing. It's like I'm not going to talk about the big scale things, but I think it's this constant thing of like trying to see, okay, who is the person who from this whole music world is benefiting the least usually. What can I do for these people? If I think I'm legit to be putting out my thing, everybody should be able to come and to access. That means also people who sometimes cannot walk, sometimes people who cannot hear, people who are queer, people who don't have the same skin color as me. And that's also all these things that are important to do with how you host people. I think that's a very important point. It's to make people know that they're accepted there, and if something happens, they can come to talk to you. But there's a big difference in saying it and people being able to do that. And that comes from when you do something, not only have people who look like you, who have the same background as you, who do the same thing, because if you keep being with the same surroundings, you will never grow. And as much as you will try to learn about a topic, you will never be able to go. I think it's this thing of like, don't do stuff alone, keep asking questions, keep being okay with like being wrong. And I think on top of that, there's this whole thing of like cancel culture, which actually I think the definition I have is not the same as everybody has. But well, be okay with some people disliking you and telling you that you're doing the worst thing ever. And that's like, everybody's so scared of like this thing of being cancelled, but like
it's a learning opportunity.
That's a learning opportunity. That means you did something that wasn't good with other people. You have a brain. You can sit and see, okay, does this person have a point? Even though maybe I don't agree with everything, does this person have a point? And of course, sometimes people think they don't. Still, I ended up with talking about cancel culture. It's my specialty apparently. But it's I think be okay with being wrong is the first point on a human level that you can do. And small other thing, and then I will shut up. I think putting out your values and your opinion, if it's not in a performative way, because we see so many people saying like, oh my god, it's like we care about trans people, we care about gay people, and then you see nobody in the team is queer, but also they cannot, like, if someone gets harassed at their events, they cannot do anything because they don't know. So if you say something, be able to like how do you say, like
stand on business.
Yeah, exactly. So and say what you mean. If you're doing something related to music, say what, like, not everybody's gonna like you. Do you want to be liked by like racist people? The heck, like, do you want to be liked by misogynistic people? What for?
It seems that accountability is a really important way of decolonizing and deconstructing power structures within the algorithm. So thank you. Are there any other additional points on this?
I think I have a related open question then. I mean, it strays a bit from algorithms, but then it also ties back to it. I think for our events, we try to have this sort of soft approach to making people aware and creating a context in which people feel safe and people from all kinds of contexts feel safe. But then sometimes the scale is really big and it becomes hard to handle. And then I wonder to what extent certain aesthetics also relate then back again to certain political contexts. I think for us, because we have been quite vocal in the past, it's quite I mean, it has formed our audience to some extent. But if you do something in a big venue, random people show up. But then I think like if you're like not a nice person and you see something with the certain aesthetic that we produce show up in your algorithm, are you still interested to come? And how does this work on this level as well? I don't have an answer to it, but I think it's something which fascinates me in organizing, in how telling a coherent story already decides for a big part the atmosphere you create.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? Are there any closing statements or final words from our wonderful guests?
For anyone who has been listening till the end, and for everybody that's here, I deeply feel like we're living in dark times. Even though you personally are not feeling it, we're living pretty dark times, and this whole convo is again telling me that like it's very dysfunctional. I feel we really need to unite. I don't know exactly how, but right now the music is the thing that touches everybody, and we need to raise our voices. We need to keep talking about what's going on, but I feel like actually we need to start acting. And yeah, I will definitely be on like police files, but we fucking need to burn this up, because like this is like what's going on right now is really fucked up and fucking everybody up. And as I've been traveling into this field for like 4 years, I keep spiraling like this is absolutely not what I was thinking it was gonna be. Like, this is art, this is people, this is community, this is love, this is not fucking ego, this is not fucking business. This should not be it. And this should not be like this flat thing that has no opinion. So yeah, I will just take the mic to say this. Yeah, we need to unite and burn this shit up.
If there's no other final statements, yes, please.
I would just say human connection, curiosity, I think are so important. And yeah, human connection, curiosity. Just look out for things, you know. Yeah.
No pressure.
Thank you for listening.
And thank you, Antonia, also.
Thank you. The only final statement that I had prepared was that algorithms are, at the end of the day, made by humans who have their own behaviors and perceptions of taste. Taste cannot be fully reduced to data, just like the self can never be fully captured in AI. But in fact, the humans that dictate algorithms, such as engineers, computer scientists, or CEOs, are as much theorizing on people as programming code. Data is inherently human, but humans are not inherently data. This is the important thing to remember when we try to answer the question that we discussed today, which is how do algorithms inform cultural movements and the conception of cultural diversity. Thank you so much for listening.
Kiosk Radio.
Thank you so much, everyone.